Greetings and welcome to the broadcast. I'm your host, and we're going to take a look at using iPods to read, study, and understand your Bible. Hello there. We're going to go ahead and start with two iPods. This one here on the left is a smaller version, many of you may have. Here's a slightly larger version. The icon right here and right here is where we go to open the Tecarta Bible study software. Let's get started. Given that one tap opens up the electronic Bible, if we want to read, first we look where we're at. It says Genesis 1 up here. We can scroll down throughout that chapter. To go to another chapter, we can simply swipe to chapter 2 or to chapter 3 and then scroll down. If we get going along here and the phone rings or something, we forget where we're at, we can look right up there. It'll tell us we're at Genesis 4. To get back, you could go like this all day long, but see that little blue arrow up there? We're just going to go ahead and take that little blue arrow, give it a couple taps, and that'll take us right on back to Genesis 1 or all the way sequentially backwards to the kind of study project that you're doing. Now, when we go along this way, we can use our fingers. If we're left-handed, we can very easily approach it from the left-hand side. With our right-hand side, we can use two fingers to go up and down. For a senior citizen, it's easier for us to use two fingers. We can certainly do that. Now, when we get to the point of wanting to take some notes, we will just pick a random here. If you see something you want to read later on, you just tap it. And then right up there, you see that little plus sign? That little plus sign will let us put a color. Let's just pick yellow. And it will put yellow, what we call highlighting, on that verse. It will also hide that later on. It'll put it over where this little crayon is here, where you can keep track of these later. But that'll be for later on. We'll look at where it goes. So there you go. You're reading, you're studying, you're doing good. We're going to get ready to take a breather here, but before we do, we're going to do what's called a word search. See right here, there's a little icon that looks like a magnifying glass. Let's just say you have an argument or you're curious about how many times a certain word is in the Bible. I always like to use one called wine. We could type this and put in the word wine, W-I-N-E, and watch how fast this works. Just that quick, bang, it went through the entire Bible, and every time the word wine is used, it gives you a little snippet here. You can pick a snippet. You can look down here and say, oh yeah, there's a place down here that talked about someone washed his garments in wine. You tap on it, some symbolic imagery, and it'll tell you right there where you want to read it. If you chose to highlight it, remember what we would do? We simply tap on it one time, hit this, and then if you wanted to change the color to green, for instance, you can change the color to green. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a little breather, then we'll come back for a review, and we'll work on the slightly larger pod and see some differences. Alright, we're back for lesson number 2. Let's go ahead and open up the icon on the slightly larger pod. Again, this is Tecarta Bible study software available for free. When you look at this, you can see there's a little bit of a difference. Down here, the KJV, that's the free version, they give you King James Version. This one's going to have a little arrow down here. And the reason that has an arrow, some people's eyes get tired. They're reading, they're studying along. They want to finish that Bible study, but gosh, it gets tiresome. If you tap this little arrow down here, included free with this software, it says, where do you want to start reading at? Let's just say you want to finish the chapter. You type, read me the chapter, and a computerized voice will read that to you. Okay, let's stop right there. We just tapped that to stop. It automatically, as you can see, scrolled the page. On the more advanced iPod and the newer version of the software, the old one won't do that. Newer one will. Not a big deal, not what they might call a deal breaker, but nonetheless there's a few differences we wanted to point out to you. Also, if you have someone in the family or you're doing some help, volunteer work, someone that has English as a second language, for instance, this could be an invaluable tool to allow them to hear a computerized voice read them the scriptures as they follow along and as it flips, as you saw, and automatically a scrolling feature. Okay, when we want to go ahead and highlight something here, we just tap on it, just like the other one, tap on it, Let's pick a different color. Let's pick blue this time. There it is, blue. Nice vibrant color, and you're ready to go. The search is pretty much the same. I wanted to show you one thing here on the search. Let's type in the word up here, corn, C-O-R-N, something you might eat. And just that quick, it tells you all 186 times. You just went through the whole Bible. It's a little tighter font. It gives you a little bit more to read. Over here, when we tried to search for something, it only gave us like 1 or 2 sentences of context. The new one gives us 3, or in this case, a lot of sentences of context. When I tap it, here it talks about ears of corn came upon one stalk. Just that quickly, it comes in and it leaves a little, just kind of a little highlight there that vaporizes just to draw your eyes up to that area. So we've gone ahead and looked at the differences. How do we get back? Let's just say you want to get out of Genesis, and the pastor or the preacher or the rabbi or the bishop, or you're just studying yourself. You may want to have a private study you don't wish to share with others. Let's just say you want to go all the way over to Revelation that way. That's a lot of, I mean, you have to go by this like this a whole lot. Quick, it's very easy to get on here to navigate. You can tap up here to Genesis on this little bar. That's all the books of the Bible. The Old Testament's in blue: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. The New Testament's in red: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And right, let's just move this out of the way here. There's Revelation. Let's tap on Revelation and then start with chapter 1. And just that quick, we've gone clear to the other end of the Bible. That can be an amazing tool. Let's go ahead and shut this one down and take this one and turn it actually off. And we're going to let it rest for just a moment so it can come back on. We'll show you one other thing on the booting up times. But if you were to go back, say you wanted to go to a specific verse, many times you'll say, what did the pastor used to tell me in the past? I think did I miss here? Have they changed it that much? Let's just start with Matthew 24, the verse people like to go to for end times prophecy. You go up here to Revelation, type in M for Matthew, or not type, just tap Matthew. There's number 24, and just that quick you've gone to that verse. You can scroll over to 25 and you'll see what we call red letters. For those of you who don't know about it, red letters are what the publisher does. He takes some extra pains, either in a regular Bible or in this one, to let you know those exact words are what was spoken by Jesus Christ, God's Son, when he came down here. And many people think you really ought to read that at least once before you go, and it's got some very good things in it. So, again, we'll go back here. Let's say you wanted to go back to Isaiah, one of the most popular Old Testament books. There's Isaiah. You tap it. Go ahead and pick up a number. Pick one out. 21? Sure. Just that quick, you're at Isaiah 21. Now, when we talk about advanced features, what we're going to do now is I'm going to remove the small iPod, and I'm going to place in the center the larger one, and we're going to simulate what we call night reading. That's right. You may be in a position where your head's on the pillow, it's a little heavy, your spouse is there, and they say, would you please shut that thing down? I'm trying to get some sleep. And you just want to finish that little verse or that end of your study. Down here, there's 2 settings. One's gears and one's a crayon. You don't have to be scared of these things. Just tap the gears. And what comes up? Well, we're not going to worry about this. These are just the Bibles. This is how to get back. If we hit the panic button, hit that arrow, and go right back again. But let's go back to the gear. There's the arrow if we need to get back. There's a moon and a sun there. If you tap the moon one time, it will turn itself into a nice night reader. And that thing is just as smooth as can be, and it gives off hardly any light. You could almost walk around with that thing up by your face, and people could hardly see you. So that's what we call a night reading mode. That's actually free. All these things you see are currently free. Let's go ahead and tap back on the gear. What do you think we do to get back? Let's see, there's a moon and there's a sun. Shall we try the sun? Okay. There it is. Just that easy. I'm going to go ahead and bring back the smaller iPod so that we'll put it back and kind of let it have parity here. But I want you to be able to get a sense of how much light it would really cut down on. Also, they say that battery life is greatly increased. Well, let's go ahead and take a little breather. You guys have done great. It's best sometimes to take just a little breather and think about what you've seen. We'll come back for another lesson in just a moment. Well, we're back. Let's go ahead and start and look at what is sometimes called a cadence feature. We'll go back here off the old little pod. We'll go down here to the gear, and you see right there, there's kind of the outline of it's really almost impossible to see the outline of a little white book. Let's tap that one time. There we are. I'm going to tap over here to the left so you can see it, and then come back. Now you see that outline of a book? I'm going to tap that one time, and that defaults. Now when I take my finger this time and turn, it acts like a real page. Can you see that page turn there? That's an actual page. Now look on the other side. On the back side of this page, you don't see anything. It's white paper. This is very soothing to seniors and some people who are highly stressed. They say, I'm tired, I've been preached at all my life. I just want to gently go real slow and just take a look at this thing. To get out of this mode, we go back here and just tap on a regular book. Now, what we're going to do now is go over to the same feature. We're going to look at the newer version. And what this does, we'll go ahead and tap on the gear, tap on the book. Now on this one, when I turn it, you can see, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and turn this exposure down just a bit. Can you see right there, just a moment, I apologize folks. On the back side of that, there's actual words. Now that word right there is gone up. You see it? When I turn it like here, you can see it's actual says gone up. It's the bleed through. It's like when real paper bleeds through. Now there's a lot of schools of thought on bleed through. Some people believe you have a piece of paper and you can see coming through, back facing at you like this, it hurts eye strain. Recently, however, certain research tells us the older, yellowed type of parchment paper, and sometimes a mild bleed through can, in some cases, be easier on our eyes. So you can see that for yourself. So as you spend a little more money for this pod and get the more updated version, you can see there's a slight increase in features. Well, what we're going to do now is, we don't want to scare you. We're going to go ahead and we'll take this and go all the way back to Genesis 1 where we were. Remember how to do that? Tap in Genesis, tap in number 1, and just that quick, we're back to Genesis. I'm going to go ahead and remove that soothing feature and have it go to what is considered regular by computer standards, what's considered modern by people who are used to the old school Bible, which is great. Many people believe, myself included, it's good to have both of these, to have one of these things in your pocket and to keep up with the old page-turning paper. All right, see down here, let's go ahead and tap that little gear. This shows the Bible. You can do nothing. You can buy a ton of Bibles here. You can literally carry 100 pounds of books if they were real books on this chip. I mean, I don't want to go into it. Some of these things cost around $10. Others cost, 99 cents. Commentaries. Now, this study Bible here, one of the favorites I like, if it's still here, is the, let's just see here. No, I'm just going to look. I should have done this ahead of time, folks. So I think they sometimes update this. Okay, just a moment. No, they have what's called a Geneva Bible, an old one. I thought we might have one on here we could take a look at. Well, we will go ahead and then we'll take another look. Let's go back to the study Bibles. Let's go back to the content, my content. Nope, I apologize. But sufficient to say that's where you go to buy things, study aids. As we look up here, you see these three little dots? These three little dots take us over here to where we can have some advanced features. And these advanced features include such things as scrolling. Now I'm going to just show you one of these, an auto scroll feature. I'm going to take the scroller and just turn it on. I'm going to leave the speed where it's at. Some of you may know what's going to happen here in a minute. Others, it'll be new to you. We go back all the way to our Bible, and let's just say we're a senior or we're tired, and instead of putting our thumbs up, we're tired of having to move and check things. You can just gently give that a little push, and that will scroll and all the way up through that page for you. It's called a scrolling feature. It's hard to believe that's free, isn't it? That's all free included software. This Tecarta company is a contrast. It's a puzzle. It's almost, some people would say, like too many cooks in the kitchen. It's very hard to navigate. They've probably lost more customers than they've gotten in the early days. It's just, without somebody showing you, it'd be hard to find. You'd be very hard pressed to find all these features. They're not easy to get to. It's not intuitive. However, like certain race cars, when you get a whole bunch of cooks in the kitchen and they're all trying hard to get the parts just right, sometimes I believe this is one of the top two finest software programs that are available for free for some serious, non-pressurized, free Bible study. The other one we'll look at some other day perhaps. But to stop it, if the phone rings, you just touch it. Just touch it and it'll stop. You don't have to worry about that. If you fall asleep, no big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. Let's pretend you wanted to shut that off. We'll just show you how did you do it. You just turn it on, like give it a little shot, and it'll catch it and it'll play. Let's go ahead and stop it. Let's go ahead into the gear. Let's go back to these three little dots. And let's go on down here. There's a whole bunch of things, and go ahead and turn the scrolling feature off. The last thing I'm going to show you now is called the font size. Many people want real small font, others want larger font. You can really get this thing fine-tuned very, very nicely. Red letter, we remember what that is, don't we? That's the words of Jesus Christ. So we have that on. These other things in studying, we're not going to go into this deep stuff, how to sync study notes and send them. And there's also a feature to read two Bibles at once. It can be done on one this small. Well, let's just show you so you don't say that we didn't. See, this has two rows here. This is really, I would have to, it says it has to be turned sideways. I'll do it for you, but you got to turn this thing sideways. And then I'm going to hold it with one hand. See how it has two things? You can make one Bible and one the other. You can try to link them together down here to do different things. It can be a real Donnybrook. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back. There we are. I'm going to turn this one back on so we can see. And give me just a second, folks. Let me just hit that focus real quick here. There we are. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this thing off of 2 and put it right back on the old-fashioned one. So there we are. Now the next thing we're going to go up and look at, this is one if you're say you have a friend who's somewhere else, you're both studying the Bible, or you have a contest about who does this or does that or knows this, that, or knows that. When you go down here and you tap this little crayon here, this brings up a vast storage area that you can use. It has a folder you can have, put things in here. It has verses you can put in here. This is a thing called key margin notes. You can put notes in this thing. Over here it has a actual putting the notes in, and then here's the bookmarks. This is a lot to swallow at one lesson. To have something like this put on you. Let's go ahead and give this a chance to come on up now. Sufficient to say, if you're scrolling along here and you see, let's just pretend you weren't paying attention. Your mind wandered a little bit. And there it is. Talks about green herbs. You've heard talk about green herbs. You tap this thing, and remember our little friend up there, that X? When you tap that X, it opens up what's called a dialog box. You can not only put colors, but if you're old crotchety, you say, I don't want any colors, I just want to underline it like that. It's all I've ever known, just underlining it. That's all we do. And there's people like that. Okay, there you are. You just underlined it. But you also here have the ability to add that note. That's what this thing here is. If I tap that, I can put a note in here that says a lesson, for instance, LESSON, and we'll just call that done. All right, no big deal. That's not a big deal when you have 1 or 2 notes, but when you have 2 or 3 or 401 notes after a year of studying the Bible, that can be kind of hard to manage sometimes. But not so. With this little thing here, you can go down here and tap, there's my notes right there, and there's the word lesson that I just typed in here. It will sequentially keep your notes here for you. Now that went kind of fast, didn't it? Should we go back and try that again? Okay, you come down here, there's a note you want to research. Let's just say you're way, in fact, let's go halfway through the Bible. Let's get up here to Matthew 25, for instance. Get some red ink up there for us. There it is. Now you can't remember how far back that was where that note was. Now when you tap on this thing, and you see, we'll pretend that we were off doing something else over here. When you tap on the Note tab, oh, it was Genesis 9:3, and you can actually tap on it just that quick. You'll go all the way back to right where you were. Isn't that amazing to have a free feature like that? Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break now, folks. We want to thank you for those of you in the audience. Those of you studying by YouTube, this is absolutely free. Use it however it's easiest for you to use. Feel free to make a copy. We do ask that you don't charge any money for it. Just help the next guy out. Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and do a few more features and kind of get a sense of some easy things we can do. Now, this one would be good for, again, as English as a second language, or someone who was maybe had a little trouble on occasion with a word. Let's just take the word earthquakes as an example. You're not from this country, and you want to look it up. If you take earthquakes or any word and tap it, it will say define. If you tap the word define, just that quick, it'll go to a dictionary, and you can read that thing, find out all about what that word's all about. When you're done, you tell it you're done, you go right back to where you were. Isn't that nice? Let's just say you're concerned about earthquakes, and you want to highlight that word. Just that word. Hold it, tap on this side. You can see the plus signs are on both sides. Let's tap on it. And since it's kind of got a scaring to us, let's put the color green on. Now that's just an individual word you have highlighted. Very, very good. Let's say we're going to tap on this, and that looks to me like it says the text has been copied. That was the copy icon. It's been copied. Now we can go back to over here, and we can say, well, I'm not so sure about bookmarks, but I do know about notes. Let me add a note here, and I'll put the word color, C-O-L-O-R, and then I'll tap and hold, and I can paste. It says the word paste. Let's go ahead and paste that verse that we just marked out of there. Isn't that amazing? Now we've got a verse right there. Now what do we want to do with this? Let's say our friend says to us, you know what, I don't believe that the word earthquake's even in the Bible. Well, to help that person, you could tap up here to this little icon, and it'll give you some options. You could send it by email. We don't use Facebook here, but you could email, or you could send it to your printer. So just that quick, you bang, hit email, send just that verse to them. Now, to some people, that's very, very complex, and it's like, boy, just let me just read the thing. There's too many buttons and switches. But should you work up to that level, or want to have what we used to call a pen pal, but this would be a pen pal that you would study the Bible with, that could be a great feature. Folks, I want to thank you for stopping by. I'm going to go ahead and turn these back now. I'm going to create a brief review, going to go through this kind of fast. Just a quick review, and then that's going to be it for this lesson. We do have some other lessons. One is on what we call the iPad, which is the large version of the iPod. There's one already online for the Amazon Kindle reader. Also, you can use smartphones, the Samsung Galaxy tablet we're looking at right now to possibly do one of those. And so if you do get this software, or learn how to use this software, it can be used on what we call cross platforms, on other things that you might get for Christmas or or just pick up. Well, starting once again, let's go to the old pod here. It's fired up. You want to read it, you snap it over. You want to scroll, you scroll. You want to highlight, you tap it one time, and then tap the plus sign, and there's a good yellow color, and it's highlighted. You want to get in some features, you tap down here on the icon, and let's just say you want to turn it down so it doesn't hurt somebody. Well, there it is. Now this is yellow colored font here. This typically does not focus real well. The jury's kind of out on yellow font, so we won't even say anything about it. Let's just go ahead and take it and put it back. That's the low light function. And then we will go over here to the other newer pod. We'll tap on it, and let's turn it to low light function, and you can see the difference. Maybe we can even get them side by side here. Something will actually work. Well, there it is. You go ahead and decide before you make a decision which of these fonts look best to you, the white one or the yellow one. When you move them, some people can get dizzy, you know. There we are. There's the red. We know what that means. So that'll give you a sense. All right, we're going to go ahead and go back here, turn these back to the regular style font, just that quick. Okay, We're going to go ahead and remove the small pod for now, place this one in the center, and now we'll go over some things. To do the search, we'll simply tap on the search. Think of a word like bread, B-R-E-A-D. Someone says, let's get a bread recipe going and see what the Bible says about it. Just that quick, it's gone throughout the whole Bible. There's 410 uses of the word bread. Gosh, let's really scroll up here and get this. I'm flying so much here, this thing's jumping all over like a jumping bean. All right, bread that's in the basket. You just tap on it, and there you are. It says bread in the basket down there. If you say you're studying somewhere else, you go, the phone rings. Let's just say you change it from, you're in Exodus, go clear the last book of the Bible again. Why not? We can go that fast. We can go there. And you say, what was that about bread? Well, if you go back up here and tap it once again, it'll save that for you, what you were doing. And you can just tap on it again, read about the bread basket. There's a bread basket right there. To wipe this out, you hit that little X, and then it wipes it out clean again. You hit the big X, and that puts you back to reading your Bible. So you may have to play this back 1 or 2 times. Now, down here to read it to you, you tap on that little triangle, and then you can either start at verse 1 through the end of the chapter. We won't worry about this TS settings now. Cancel is, again, when the phone rings, you have to shut it off. Off it goes. That's a good one. And lastly, let's go over one more time, shall we, how to make this thing scroll. You get a little tired, you want to get that study in. You tap once on the gear. You tap once on these 3 little, I don't know what you would, whoops, folks, I want to apologize right now. I just made a slight, just that much. I just accidentally looked up at the focus for a moment for the camera. I accidentally hit on that black bar instead of down by the gear. We're going to go down here and turn on what we call auto scroll. Auto scroll. The speed is here. Let's turn the speed up just a tiny bit. We're done, right? Sure, we're done. Go back, we're reading. Just give her a shot, and it will scroll for us. Of course, we're in the last book of the Bible, so it's just going to bottom out on the. No, we're not. Let's do this. Let's just check something. Let you actually see it for yourself. Let's go down here and scroll and let it go clear to the last end of a chapter. You can see that for yourself. Very smooth, very linear. Should be pretty close to the end. There, that's that. Now when it reads, don't forget, let's go back here, it's going to automatically scroll. When we go to reading, start at the verse, it'll go all the way through. Whom I love in the truth, and not I only, but also all day long. There. Now we've got them both going. So you can play around with that a little bit, but when it is reading, it will automatically advance, of course, to the next page and turn that for you. Now that's about it, folks. There's virtually no maintenance here. Tecarta is getting a little bit aggressive lately. Sometimes if you get this, you will find yourself, when you're online, receiving an inducement to maybe purchase a Bible for a couple dollars or something like that. Repeated nag screens will sometimes show up, which will say, hey, do you like this? Do you think this is a real good? Let us know how you like it, kind of draw you in a little bit that way. There's been one case where we purchased an item and it basically would not load. A little later it seemed to self-repair and load. All this stuff is just normal nowadays. This is not them going after the almighty buck any more than anybody else. I think they're just amping up, or even ramping up, if you will. They're monetizing this. And let's face it, it took something to make this. I don't want to spend anyone's money for them, but I mean, for free, a lot of people, if they had a couple bucks, they would be happy to put a couple bucks in to have something like this to carry with them for basically forever. As far as it not vaporizing, some of this stuff is called vaporware, not software, vaporware, and it's gone in a couple months. You have to come back, and or it doesn't work at all, and pay some more money. So overall, we give this little place high marks. I think they're doing pretty darn good. We'll go ahead and close out now, and thanks for stopping by, and best to all of you.